water, are a host of incredible public native forests. They make our rivers flow. They give drinking water to all the people of the North Coast who live on the coast. They sustain all the industries. These forests provide water for agriculture and fisheries. And there's been recent research looking at the lineages of these forests and their future. And some incredibly exciting work has told us that these Gondwanan forests, when they collided with the Southeast Asian continent in some recent tens of millions of years, that they created forests that have the greatest capacity to draw down carbon, to hold carbon in the forests, and to maintain the processes of life. We need to desperately and urgently protect all of these forests. We need to fix them up where they're broken, where there are weeds, and where there's been impacts and harm from fire. And we urgently need to expand the cover of forests to stabilize our catchments and keep our rivers flowing, to draw down and store massive volumes of carbon, and in so doing, give ourselves a future filled with abundant life, to keep our rivers flowing, to give our greater gliders, our yellow-bellied gliders, our koalas, and the myriad of other creatures that exist within these amazing forests a future. Time's running out, and the work that's going on across our coast is paving the way to a safe future that really is critically dependent upon our public native forests. Thank you, everyone. May we deliver ourselves a safer future through our forests.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can hear a bit of applause there. Keep in mind, folks, we will have questions after all the speakers. So if you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and someone will collect them. So I'd like to hand over now to Susie. Take it away, Susie. You're on mute, Susie. The old mute.
Hello, everyone. I'm joining you from the Save Bulga Forest Camp here at the Ellenborough Falls camping ground. I want to acknowledge that we are here on Biripi country and that this land has never been ceded, and it feels really affirming, I think, to be here doing our best to defend and to protect these really important forests that Mark has just been talking about. We've been here in camp now for nearly 7 weeks. We've had this camp set up. Logging started in the Bulga forest just before Christmas, and our village is quite progressive, quite green, and we got together and decided that it was the thin end of the wedge. We were going to resist, and spontaneously decided that we would go out and stand in front of the machines the next Monday morning. And so that's what happened. We went out on the Sunday night and camped, blocking the road access to the machines. But it was actually the brave tripod sitter who really stopped work for that day. And then again, a couple of days later, we had another brave person who sat in a tree sit that was sort of connected to ropes across the road that made access to the forest for work that day difficult, and in fact was able to do it again the second day. So in the week before logging stopped for Christmas, we had managed to stop them for 3 of the 4 days, and so we felt that that was pretty good. They kind of knocked off on the Friday. After that, we held a community meeting, and there were about 50 people. So in our small village, we get 100 voters at the Elands polling booth. Well, we had 50 people come to the meeting to find out what was going on. And it was a really fantastic meeting. Everybody got organised. We divided up into little working groups to take on different projects. and decided that we'd set up a permanent camp, that we would set up a permanent tree sit in the Bulga forest in the area that we knew they wanted to go into next, to build a website, to do craftivism, to spread the message through various creative activities, make camp a family-friendly place, do more forest actions, and to join with other communities across New South Wales who are similarly resisting the destruction of our forests. And so that's what we've been doing since. It's been fairly intense, and it's been slow to build, but I mean, most weeks there have been direct actions. So there've been a number of forest actions. We kicked it off with a big one in Bulga Forest when logging resumed on the 9th of January, and that resulted in 2 arrests, and forestry said that they were going to move to a nearby plantation. So we counted that as a win, that they had actually moved out of the area of Bulga Forest that had triggered the action. But we know that they will go back as soon as we go away, and they've given no guarantees. It's really just to sort of take the heat off them. So we decided we wouldn't go away, and that we would start looking at action in other forests. The people in the Camden Haven were keen that we work with them to do an action in the Lawn Forest, which stopped logging there for a day. We've done 2 actions at the big sawmill that's not far from us, which processes most of the logs coming out of these forests. It's owned by the same company that runs the Eden woodchip mill, and has a reputation for lots of wood chipping. Again, you know, we've had another 3 arrests at the sawmill site. What was terrific was that we managed to inspire and work with a group further to the north in the region who have now got together, done a couple of actions, set up a camp. So now we have 2 camps that are dedicated to protecting our forests in this region and to try and build the issue. And it is building. We have seen an increase in the amount of media attention. It's been a good story in The Guardian. We've had some local news, and we're slowly starting to get some coverage on the ABC. We had a fantastic win at the Mid-Coast Council that unanimously passed a resolution, nearly fell off my chair, calling for the protection of the 2 compartments in Bulga that triggered all our actions, but more importantly, calling for a just transition out of the native forest logging industry into ecologically sustainably managed plantations and farm forestry. So that was exciting. But here we are now, we're 5 weeks from a state election, and we know the National Liberal Party, we know what their policy is on forests. It's basically eradicate. We've seen it in action. We know they've got no intention of doing anything different. So our job is to make sure that they don't win the next election, and that if people care about forests and they care about the wildlife, that they then use this opportunity to vote against the coalition, the Liberals and the Nationals, and also to try and push the Labor Party. So the Labor Party has committed to a process to create a Great Koala National Park near Coffs Harbour on the mid-north coast, but they haven't really committed to anything for any of the rest of us, any of the other forests, any of the other animals, any of the koalas down our way. So it's really critical that we try and put pressure on the ALP. So we're starting to look now at what sort of action we can take to help put pressure on the politicians. So, you know, places, for example, in Sydney, where there are some progressive independents who want to who want to make forests an issue and who are prepared to stand up for forest protection and who hopefully will win seats off the Liberals. So we're looking at how we can support them, and preparing some materials, films and other little clips of things that we can use to do, to give to people to help put together info nights and slideshow, you know, film nights and all that sort of thing. So we're going to be talking a bit more about what everyone can do coming up, but I think they're the main things that we really need now to create a buzz around the issue. We've done remarkably well, considering that we sort of come from a standing start in at the beginning of the year, and it certainly is something that is starting to gain traction. I'd like to also mention that the organisation I'm a part of, the North East Forest Alliance, has a court case where the judgment is still pending, and we're hoping for, I don't know if it's a miracle, but whatever it is, that we get a judgment between now and the state election, and that judgment is favourable, which will seriously catapult the issue onto the agenda. But anyway, we'll wait and see. But I think that's the main thing, is that we need your help, everyone, to help create that buzz. It's an opportunity, but it's also absolutely desperate that, you know, these forests are being cut down at such a rapid rate with these huge machines, and we really are running out of time every day. You know, I mean, in the time I've been talking to you, there would have been hundreds of trees that would have been cut down, and you know, there's just so many animals now that are in trouble because of what's happening and will be into the future. So I think that's it for me. Thank you everyone for listening, being here.
Thank you very much, Susie. There's a question there for you, but we'll get to that as soon as we hear from Bob Brown. Bob, there you are. Take it away, Bob.
Hello, Fiona. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, I'm Bob. I'm from Lutruwita, the land of the Palawa people. That's Tasmania. But I came originally from the Great Dividing Range of New South Wales, various places there, and one of my formative memories is seeing bulldozers with balls and chains knocking down whole hillsides with the gliders and other creatures flying out in front of them as a child. I'll never forget that. And yet this destruction continues with machinery now. What a great inspiration the campaigners in New South Wales have always been, but are right now. And Susie's description of the sudden response from the people of Elands and at Bulga is inspiring for everybody. This is a movement that's worldwide. We are in the great extinction crisis caused by humanity, and we are in the climate emergency. And both sides of that coin, the United Nations tells us the best way, the cheapest way to move against the tide of extinction and the heating of the planet is to stop destroying native forests. But we see at government level, Labor and Liberal parties at state and federal level in Australia, not only paying lip service to such things from the United Nations, but actually cheating on the whole of the Australian people by saying they're taking action, when in fact they're supporting the continued destruction. New Zealand ended native forest logging in 2001 after a petition of 500,000 people to an incoming Labor government. Here we are 22 years later, and we're not even close to it. So one of the things we'll be working on hard this year is to get the federal government to move to coordinate a national move for the end of native forest destruction. But in the meantime, we've got some options. One is for people to fund the campaigners who are taking action. You know, that's the important thing. What action is being taken and where to put the support. And for me, it goes to those people who are taking on the ground action as the people at Elands are doing at the moment. Another thing, of course, is to contact politicians. And Susie just spoken about the New South Wales elections, now just a month away. it is critically important that those candidates, including the Teal Independents and the Greens, and one or two potential Labor people who could win seats, and in the case of the Teals and Greens, may hold the balance of power, commit to taking action on the forests if and when Labor wins office. The coalition wins office, we're into a tough, long run against them. But Labor needs to take real action, and beyond the Great Koala National Park, as Susie said, the forests across or down the length of New South Wales, as Mark so described the extraordinary value of them, need to be protected, and there's no reason why that can't be stopped. So here's the question to the candidates. If you're elected, will you make it clear to Labor that you will not support them in government unless they end native forest logging? It's a very important question. That we're in an existential crisis. And I want to also say this about taking action. I know the New South Wales government has brought in draconian anti-activist laws to criminalise environmentalists. Look, that's come out of America in the 1980s, the so-called wise use movement. What they're doing is saying we can't win the environmental argument, and all the polls show that 70% or more of Australian citizens, and this is quite strong in New South Wales, and a bigger proportion of Labor voters want native forest logging stopped. So why aren't they doing it? Because big money, getting big public subsidies is coercing weak politicians in the big parties to continue to allow the logging to continue, and that's got to stop. And one of the great ways of stopping that is by peaceful direct action. It served the suffragettes, it served the people who moved to abolish slavery, and so many other times in human history. It certainly did with the Franklin campaign, with Kakadu, with the Daintree campaign in northern New South Wales, with ending logging on Fraser Island, such a contentious thing back in the 1970s and 80s for Australia, and so much more, with Aboriginal people always in there trying to defend their homelands again against the onrush of destruction. We are licensed to take direct action. No legislation can take that from us. It is for us to uphold the laws of nature. And where we get created laws that cut across that, as far as I'm concerned, the duty to the laws of nature, to this planet, which gives us everything that we have, come top, come first, and will not be displaced by laws that say, well, if you do that, you're going to cop not just a fine, but a potential jail sentence, and you're going to be criminalised. That's happened back before in history from bullies and people who had it wrong. But the time is right now, and they say that there's nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. And the time to end native forest logging in New South Wales and across this country has come. So, I'm in Sydney tomorrow night at the Event Cinema for the launch of this film, The Giants, about big forest, largely in Tasmania, but what applies there applies everywhere else around the world. We're looking to holding a forum for potential political winners in the New South Wales election a week out from the election. I was talking with Doro about that yesterday, how that could serve to strengthen up people so that after the election, they will stand strong and take action if, as is quite possible, Labor wins the election. But above and all this, I get such a fantastic buzz. I get such a good, strong feeling. I get such a positive feeling about humankind when I see the action that's being taken at Camden Haven and up in the Kalang and at Bulga. And of course, we've got people in the forests in the Tarkine in Tasmania tonight, and they're there in the forests of Victoria and in southwest Western Australia. This is the prelude to a big move to end native forest logging right across Australia. But this election in New South Wales is a critical milestone along the line. Labor may win, it's quite likely that they'll depend on independents, Greens, and or the said Teal conservative, more conservative, but independent people who have put the environment at the forefront. Go you candidates. And as Susie indicated, it's up to us to get people to vote, but to tell everybody to vote against the big parties who want to destroy the forest, and for those people who are going to save them. Between now and the election, it's important to say, I'm going to vote for so-and-so because she or he is going to defend the forest. Anyway, all strength to you up there at Eland's, and thank you for the inspiration that we're getting tonight from people across the spectrum, including, importantly, scientists like Mark, who make this world a more positive place in a sea of destruction. We're on the move. There's something in the air I haven't seen since the 1960s, and we're not going to stop until they end logging, full stop, in all our native forests.
Great. Thanks very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll give people the opportunity to ask all of our speakers some questions now and take a few answers before Bob's got to take off. And so if we've got one in there, we've had a bit of a discussion going on in the chat there. Would you like to let us know what the first question is there, Bones?
Yeah, we've got two questions in the chat. The first one's from Meg AB. Susie, how important is it for people to watch the SF operations on their website? Does it intimidate them in any way that we're watching?
I think it's really important to familiarise yourself with the Forestry Corporation's website, and to, if you've got the time, to download plans for as many forests as you can near you. They have an interesting thing on their website where they actually keep a track of who's asking for what plans. So you can, I think they know when there's going to be a problem, because all of a sudden a whole lot of people start asking for a plan from a particular area. So to ask for a whole lot of plans, including ones where you might not necessarily be thinking of taking action, is a good thing to do. And I think it's really, I was shocked. I went and had a look at the portal yesterday, and I saw that an area of the Bulga forest 10 times the size of the 2 compartments that we've been trying to stop them is in the planning process. So they have no intention of stopping. They have so many areas that are in the planning process. And at least that gives us the opportunity to know where they are planning and to get ready. I mean, one of the areas I saw, for example, was Nambucca. I mean, it's right next to town. It's a fantastic opportunity for that community to get organised, because you know that they're coming for your forest, tiny little patch of forest right outside the township of Nambucca. Surely the community there, they've defended it once. I'm sure they can do it again. But I think getting familiar with that forestry website and using it to start getting the community ready for the battles ahead, because even if Labor wins, we're just going to have those same battles. They're not going to stop the logging until we've been through quite a few community actions, quite a few arrests, and they get shamed into it eventually. But it won't be all over on the 25th of March. What will happen, hopefully, is we will have a different government that will eventually be more responsive, but we will have to fight them for it.
Great, thanks very much, Susie. And what was the second question we've got there, Bones?
The second question is from Marco. Susie, we are noticing a ramp up of logging pre-election. What's your take?
I think they are, well, I actually think that they're being a bit careful of where they're logging. I think that the whole they can. I mean, obviously.
Oh, I'm losing Susie a bit there. Is anyone else? Sorry, we just lost you for a second there, Susie.
I think they're going into the areas that are the least controversial, and that they are waiting until after the election. And that's what I mean about they have so much forest in the planning. So they are waiting, and then they're going to, then they'll start really going for it. And that will be the challenge that we will have, regardless of the government.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Susie. And just to let folks know, if you'd like to pop any questions you have in the chat there, we can field them to the speakers. Did we have another one there? Thanks, Bones.
Yeah, we've got a question here from Catherine. Hey, Susie, are we organising for 13 walk-in?
I think we're going to get to that, aren't we?
Yeah, yep, we'll get there. So if you can hang on there, Catherine, just for a little bit longer, we'll get on to that one. I'd like to give an opportunity to ask a question to you, Bob, while we're waiting. Does anyone have a question specifically for Bob before he has to take off? If you want to unmute yourself and give it a shot, go for it.
Yeah, sorry. Can I? Yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah,
question.
we can't see you there. Sorry, Mignon. If you don't mind putting your camera on, that'd be great.
Thanks. I'm just after some advice because I was speaking with my the local Labor candidate, bringing this up, and yeah, I kind of got shut down at a community meeting. It was like, well, this is about local concerns, and I guess just and I know it's a thing that politicians do, but any tips on how we can handle those those moments when, yeah, a politician's trying to, shut down what is an important conversation. And as I kind of gently reminded him, well, I am a local here to my district. I know some of my neighbours are also, who are on this Zoom now, are also concerned. We've all got our signs up. So yeah, how can we negotiate those situations where people are just kind of, shutting us down when we do have those brief moments?
Well, firstly, it's great you brought it up. And secondly, that will have looked bad to other people in that audience. Whoever that candidate was is entirely wrong. Voters generally, people generally know that the extinction crisis and the destruction of forests and loss of wildlife, and indeed climate change, is not just a local concern, it's a global concern, and it concerns everybody, and it's galvanising. It's why the environment and climate change are very high up on the agenda for the first time in really 20 years in Australian voting people's aspirations. They want to know what their candidates think, and if a candidate shuts you down, don't be too worried about it, because that means they've shut down other people who are concerned about the same issue. But come back at it again. Just say, you shut me down at the public. You shut me down at the public. Send them a very nice looking card with wildlife on it. I'm a voter in your electorate. You shut me down at the local meeting. Now I want to know what you are going to do in the next election. Will you cross the floor to stop native forest logging in New South Wales? Because if not, I'm going to try on my best to get my friends and neighbours to vote for somebody who will.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just keep plugging away. Yeah,
That's
thanks,
it.
Bob. Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks very much, Bob. And just there, Mignon, if there are also some resources we'll touch on shortly that can help us in terms of how to engage with MPs. So we'll get onto that as well. Do we have the next question there? Thanks, Bones.
The next question is from Chris for Susie. Should we just check, is there any more questions for Bob? Because we know that Bob has to go soon.
Yep.
You can just speak if you have any questions. Let's just give that a second.
Yep.
Yeah, if I could just say something to Bob, if that's okay. Just Craig from Vote Easy here. Emphasis on what you said before, Bob, the importance of voters knowing who they're voting for. As we say that politicians, you come from the candidates we elect, and it's very important to know what they think prior to us voting for them. And then once they are elected, then holding them to account and ensuring that if they don't fall through with whatever they told you prior, that you don't vote for them again. But you also talk there about communicating amongst ourselves and making sure we talk, and our friends and families who don't get involved with groups like this know more. They might care about the environment and it's important. So we need to make sure that we communicate with our friends and family and get them connected with the candidates so that they know prior to voting what's important to them. And I think it's very important that as a collective group, you know who you're voting for prior to making them a politician.
Great, thanks very much, Greg. Oh,
Yes,
sorry,
Greg, that's true. And if you look at the trend in politics, more and more people are voting away from the big parties, and a primary reason for that is their dismissal of environmental issues. We've still got a long way to go, but it's a trend that's occurring, and it is worrying those big parties. So I also think, just going back to our previous questioner, writing to the local paper and say, I went to the meeting, the candidate said, shut me down when I tried to ask about this question. It's very, very important to let them know that you're in there for the long haul. And I also think it's incredibly important to write letters to the local press supporting those people who are out on the front lines, who are spending time, sometimes with great discomfort, out in the forest, as we've heard tonight, because the big parties like to vilify environmentalists. It's very important that we see streams of letters going to the media or to talkback radio supporting the work for the planet that's being done by Susie and her community and by everybody who's involved in direct action, peaceful direct action in the New South Wales forests.
Great, thanks very much, Bob. We've got another question there about whether how to get involved in your local area and asking about whether people should get involved with big organisations or whether there's other ways to do it. Have you got any experience there, Bob or Susie, on that one?
Yes, I have. Sorry, Susie, if you would like to go first, I'm happy. But I'd just like to say that whether it's a big organisation, a small organisation or a middle organisation, look at the action that's being taken.
Yep.
That's so important. Action for the planet. Don't get depressed, get active. That's why I find the folk at Bulga so inspiring. I've been up to visit the forests recently at Kalang. I've been to Wild Cattle Creek before that, and I just love it. I've been in the Perth hills, woodlands of Western Australia at a rally 2 weeks ago, and down at Jallura in the woodlands south of Western Australia. People right across the country are standing up for their forest because they're disgusted with the lack of action after all the blandishments from the big parties. So I just think find out where the action's taking place, and even if you don't want to be arrested or you don't want to lock on or you don't, go and visit the folk. Tell them that you care, that you support them, take them some nice organic fruit or whatever. But it's just so important that people go and see forests like those at Bulga, because it's my experience that once you go and see it, you'll want to campaign for it. And I've always found that you can campaign for something much better if you've been there, particularly if you spent a night under campus with the other people who are defending a forest. Forests we come from the forests. They're our great friends. They're our brethren and our sisterin, and we owe it to them and their fellow creatures and all future generations that we make a stand for it. So if you're going to support an organisation, support one that's taking real action.
Great, thanks very much, Bob. And I think having Susie joining us from the camp on Bulga is a great example of that. Would you add anything to that, Susie?
Not really, except to say that small organisations that don't accept government grants and that sort of thing have a lot more flexibility. I know that I belong to an organisation that does not have tax deductibility status, and we've registered to be a third-party campaigner in the New South Wales election, which is what you have to do if you want to give people voting advice. And we're able, instead of some of the big organisations that are suggesting that they've got a scorecard where people weigh up the candidates, I mean, we can be clear, you know, put the Liberals and Nationals last. That's going to be our advice. So, yeah, I think small organisations can often be a lot more flexible and more gutsy, and they're a good place to put your money.
Great, thanks very much, Susie. Some great advice there, and having grown up and living at Elands, I really encourage people to head to the camp as well. It's a really beautiful spot. It's a lovely time of year. There's gorgeous rivers and an amazing series of waterfalls there for people to visit. So it's not just a place to go for action, but also for a holiday if you're looking for a place to set up your tent or your camper trailer for a little bit. We've got another question here. I might just field this one, Bones, from Amanda, asking Bob whether you have any web designers in your foundation who might be able to help make our online presence a little more effective.
I can't answer that one, but please do contact the foundation to see if assistance can be given there. But here we go. There's web designers and people are plenty in New South Wales. Come on, use that expertise to help get up the web facility that activist organisations can't do of their own. So a call out there is something that we can do on this webinar. And if somebody knows a web designer who can help out there, well, contact the people who are organising this webinar. That would be a great assistance to your organisation.
Great, thanks, Bob. And we might do that if anybody on the call knows is themselves or knows of someone with those kind of skills. Please let us know in the chat or contact us on the Save Bulga Forest website. That'd be great. And we did want to, Fee's really keen to get a group photo before we wrap up and before you leave us, Bob. So can I hand over to you, Fee, and let you take us through that process?
You certainly can. Thank you all to all the amazing speakers. And yep, here is my face. I'd love for us to all be on the screen together, Bones, so I can have like a fist up for Forest to show how many people here tonight want to stand up for the forest. So if when I say 3, 2, 1, you'll probably fist up and I'll take a photo, but I have to do it twice because there's so many of us here. I'll need to go through 2 screens. So, all right, fist up for Forest, yeah. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to switch to the next screen. All right, I'm going to say it again. I know it's super cheesy. Ready, set, fist up for Forest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, that's great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining so much, Bob. You're a really motivational speaker, and I really appreciate the work you're doing.
You're a motivational mob. Thank you.
Nice one.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There
great.
are a few more questions in the chat, by the way. 2 more, maybe.
Yeah, we're just getting down to time, so it's quarter past now. So I thought we better keep it moving along. And we can field those questions as we go along as well. Do you want to shout them out to us, Bones, and we'll pick them up potentially in the conversation coming up?
A lot of people want to know how they can help from home, so we have to field that one. Why is the court taking so long to come to judgment? That's from Scott. And Chris asks Susie, do you know approximately how many forests have been closed in order to stop the protests over the last few months?
That's a good question, Chris. I think the answer is just about every day they're closing a new one. I mean, they've done 3 closure notices up north to try and stop the camp up there from being able to camp on state forest. They've closed quite a few of the forests around here, Yarra and Bulga. Burrowan, which is not far, they closed the other day. So the number is going up. I'd say dozens and dozens, and you know, forestry spin that they're the place where all these great activities can take place is just so much rubbish. Clearly, they're the ones who are locking up the forest. They lock them up to cut them down, and then they open them up when they've trashed them.
Great, thanks, Susie. And do you have any insights or thoughts on why the judgment from the court case might be dragging out?
Absolutely none. It's been 1 year. The case was heard in March. So like we are really hoping that that 1 year milestone will be, we'll see a judgment in March. But no idea why it's taking so long.
We hope that, yeah, we hope that there is still a separation between the political and the judiciary arms of government in New South Wales. It hasn't got to that state of things yet. But, yeah, and the other questions about how can we get involved, that's what we're going to move into now, folks, and spend the next few minutes talking about. We've got, first of all, Ed from Nature Conservation Council. Sorry, just had a little bit of a moment there. Ed, if you could step us through some of the great things that you've got going on there, that'd be really great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jai. Thanks, everyone. So, hey, my name is Ed. I'm with the Nature Conservation Council of New South Wales. We're the peak body of environment groups. We have over 180 member groups across New South Wales, and so they're of all different sizes. And we've been going for over 65 years, fighting for a long time to protect forests and save koalas and halt climate change as well. And we've been working hard on this state election as an organisation. We've been very ambitious with our goals and our different sort of ways we're getting involved. And so I just wanted to run through a few of them today, just to sort of know that there's a bunch of people here who are doing amazing work, who have found all these great ways to contribute. And there are also people here that want to be able to do more. And I can see that in the chat with people wanting to know how they can help from where they are and other sort of things. So I wanted to share just some stuff that we're doing in case you wanted to be a part of that as well, knowing that, we're all a big movement, and as a peak body of environment groups, we sort of see ourselves as an organization that can support the movement and sort of really contribute to the movement. And when there are things like the campaign to save Bulga and other sort of campaigns around the state, we want to contribute and chuck in and be able to, have that sort of that ecology of a movement where we're all helping each other with shared goals. And we sort of see that, particularly with this state election, there's protecting forests from logging has really been catapulted to be one of the biggest environment issues, which is really refreshing to see, and really, I think, a testament to the hard work of so many people for so long. And so we have this big opportunity ahead of us, and so if we can take it home the last bit over the next 5 weeks, then we can really make a difference. And so there's 2 or 3 things I wanted to share about. So we about a few weeks ago, we launched a campaign of these leaflets that we started printing to be able to get them all across the state in letterboxes as far and wide as possible. And we originally printed 50,000 and put them out on our website and to the movement, and we ended up getting orders of 150,000. And so just goes to show there are so many people here that want to protect nature and want to see this election have some really great outcomes for forests and for koalas and that sort of thing. And so we've run out of those flyers, but we're just about to print more election scorecards. And so Susie was sort of saying that different organizations can say different things on their scorecards. Because we're a charity and because we're non-partisan, we have a long history of never endorsing a political party or never telling someone how to vote. And so that has some advantages, has some disadvantages. It does mean that we're a trusted voice. And so we will be putting together some election material, which we'll have available on our website, which you can order a box of for free. We'll send you a box of 400 of them, and you'll be able to take them and letterbox them down your street, take them to your local polling place, take them to your local shop, your local whatever you can do to sort of get them out and seen as many people as possible. Because we know that if people walk into the polling place with nature and environment on their mind, then we can really make a difference. And so this is the design of the first one. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I've gone. Yeah. It'll be something like that has sort of more specific details about what the different parties are committing to for the election. So I'll share a link. Oh, great. Thanks, Jai.
Yep. No worries.
Oh, great! You've done that. I've already prepared some links as well, so I've got a few more that I've got ready to hit go when I'm done.
Okay, great.
Save you the work. And so the other thing I want to talk about was that we have this big forum on next Wednesday. So this is going to be at Sydney Town Hall. We've got the Environment Minister, James Griffin, the Shadow Environment Minister from Labor, Penny Sharp, and the Greens Environment spokesperson, Sue Higginson. They're all going to be talking about their vision for nature if they were to win the election. So we want to see some election commitments and some more detail to these commitments be revealed on the night. And so if you are near Sydney, or if you can make it to Sydney for next Wednesday, the 1st of March, then it will be great to see you there. I've just shared there's a link there to RSVP for the forum in person if you're going to be there. I know Susie's going to make it down for that. I'm going to head down from Lismore. So there's still spots available to get there on the day, and we really want to get as many people in the room as possible, because we know that if we have a big showing, the MPs will have to aim higher, or will have the sort of confidence to aim higher. We also will be live streaming it. Thanks, Janet. You can see the third link in that bit of text I just shared is you can RSVP for an online stream of that forum. And so there's a link to the website there. You can RSVP, and then you get the Zoom link. You'll be able to join in just like this. And then the last link I put there is a URL that has our election calendar. So we've got a number of our election events up there, different candidate forums, different events. We'll be putting more events up there over the next few weeks. Really, we just want to be doing all we can to get people out and about, talking to their friends, talking to their family, talking to their community, having the sort of the conversations bit by bit. And if we can change hearts and minds one by one, and demonstrate our power and our influence, and the fact that caring for the environment, or caring for forests, or wanting to see an end to native forest logging is no longer a fringe issue. There are big sections of the community in every different seat of New South Wales that now have these beliefs. And so the major parties, any candidate, anyone hoping to win a seat come March 25th will know that they need to have good policies on forests and koalas to be able to do so. And so we see what happens with that election. There'll be a bunch of opportunities, and so we're in it for the long haul. So over the next few weeks we've got a lot of opportunities, but there'll be even more as we keep going. And so we're in it for the fight. Like Susie was saying, we won't stop until the forest is saved. So thanks everyone.
Thanks very much, Ed. That's really great stuff. Really encourage folks to jump on the website there and follow up, and reach out to Ed and any of the different groups that are part of the NCC. So we're going from this ability for people to do things at home. So some of those people asking, what can we do? There's some really great examples. We'll get on to some more of those as well, some more sort of localized stuff that we've got going on. But first of all, I want to hand back over to Susie, who's going to tell us about a chance for you to come up, get amongst it in forests that are near you, or come for a visit. Take it away, Susie.
So we, as we approach the election, as we approach crunch time, we are looking for ways that are going to see the issue get a bit more coverage. So one of the things that we thought we might do is to try and get as many people as we can who are prepared to walk into a closed forest to stop the logging. And so we had thrown around a couple of dates, and just today it looks as though the date we might end up settling on is the 16th of March, which is a Thursday, where we will be able to hopefully, at least in our neck of the woods, the forest that we have chosen is Yarra. It's being heavily logged. It's not far from a major population centre, and we're hoping that we can get quite a few people who are prepared to be arrested in a relatively non-threatening way, if that's what it comes to, and another group of people who are prepared to walk in, and when they're told to leave, are happy to leave. So it will be a colourful, noisy, hopefully entertaining action. I think there's going to be a similar action on the far north coast at the same time. We're not going to shy away from publicising them. There was talk before about how many forests are closed. We've done a quick count, and it looks like there's about 96 forests that are closed for one reason or another. And so it's about taking back our forest, our public forests, and making a statement. And hopefully, if enough of us come together to do a mass action like that, we will see the issue about what is going on sort of catapulted into the mainstream media. So if you want more details, make sure you are following Save Bulga Forest. Or you can write to bulgaforest@gmail.com and get more information about what we're going to do that day. But at the moment, it's March 16. So if you can come here and participate in person with us, that's great. If you're further north, then maybe get together. If you're near Coffs Harbour, then maybe there's a forest near you. If you're on the south coast, then I'm sure you've got plenty of opportunities too. And I think that our strength and the interest that we will garner will grow the more places and the more people we can encourage to get together to take that action on that day.
Great, thanks very much, Susie. So yeah, there's a really great, put that one in your calendar, folks. That's make sure I get this right, Thursday the 16th of March. So it's 9 days out from the election. It's a really poignant moment for us. If you can make it to, you might want to start looking to organise one in your own area. We've had a bit of conversation on the chat about operations that started up in the Styx River here up on the highlands. So if there's plenty of places where you can take action in this kind of way, but there's also things that you can do from the comfort of your own, on the couch with your laptop, however it is that you like to do your activism. And that's what I'll just cover off quickly now, noting that we're about a minute off 7:30. If people do need to go, then we understand. That's fine if you need to take off, but if you don't mind hanging around for a couple of minutes, we'll just run through some of the ways that you can get involved in Save Bulga Forest and these broader campaigns from home. So if you don't mind making me the host, just quickly, please, Bones, I'll share my screen here and show you our Save Bulga Forest website, which has a few resources on there. So we have, and so does the Nature Conservation Council, some great resources that step you through how to do some letter writing, and also how to host an information stall, and how to do a public meeting. And they're three really great ways that you can engage with other people, get them involved and get them mobilised, get them thinking about the issue, and hopefully taking a bit of a stand, realising that it's something that they care about and they want to inform other people about as well. I'm not sure whether I'm able to share just yet. So, but basically the website is savebulgaforest.org and .au. Oh no, just .org, and drop that in there into the chat, and that's where you can go to basically use a pro forma template to send a letter to a politician. Sorry, I'm just getting a thing here that's letting me. We had some tricky things around how to share your screen and whether we could have only one host, and now I seem to have found out that I might be able to do it so everybody can share. I'll see how that goes. I'm not sure it'll work, but
yeah, you should be able to share your screen even though you're not a host, but you are now the host.
Yeah, great, thanks. It's not coming up for me, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Great. Okay. So here we are. So that's the website for the pro forma, and you can see in there, it's really easy. You can just drop in your details and edit the letter if you can, because a partially personalised letter is a lot more effective. So I really encourage people to jump on there and email politicians that we've done the work of identifying there for you. The other one here is some great resources here. I know they're great because I wrote them myself, and I'm just giving myself a bit of a plug there. Some resources on PDFs on how to run a public meeting. Oh, sorry, we've shut off into there. Can people see that screen there? Or are we back on the Parliament?
We're on the Parliament, Jai.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't share the whole screen. I just shared my that one. I've got to go back now. Oh, I've lost you all, sorry. Screen, there we go. Okay, so this is just how to run a public meeting. It's really straightforward. And one of the key things here is that it steps you through everything you need to do, and also how to run an information stall. So if you can get together with a couple of people, it doesn't take much effort, and you can put these things on. And we're also here to help and support, so we can help get speakers to the meeting, or to help you get access to different resources and materials and those sorts of things. We really want to encourage people to try and take some sort of action in your local community, so you don't have to all come back to Elands or to another forest to be part of the movement. And also, for anybody who's keen, who's looking for a way to try and help with fundraising, we've got some donation forms there, and there's the bank account details, so you can make deposits direct into our account. And as Bob was talking about, we're a grassroots community group. We don't have any kind of formal organisation other than this bank account, and the fact that we're all community members volunteering and doing the best we can to try and stand up for forests. So really encourage you to if you can, make a donation. And there's the details there in the chat. And I think that I will hand over. What I'd like to do is to just ask people to, if you can, in the chat, or if you'd like to just jump up and unmute yourself, can you let us know a bit about some of the things you're thinking of doing? If there's anyone in the group who's maybe involved in what's going on in the sticks or elsewhere, if you want to tell us about the action that you're planning on taking, or that you're already taking, in line with these sorts of things, so we can sort of inspire each other. Has anyone got any things coming up that they want to let the rest of the group know about? Even if it's just that you're putting on an info stall, or you're going to write a letter, you've got a letter writing group.
Well, I'll just jump in from NEFA on the North Coast. We've got a couple of actions going in the forest, mainly around Double Duke, which is a closed forest now. There have been at least one arrest, and we've been trying to have more permanent camps to observe and to hold them to account, because the logging is going on there at a rapid pace. We're also planning some Meet the Candidates evenings. There'll be one in Lismore. I think it's on the 3rd of March. I will be compare one in Kyogle on the 1st of March. That will be for the seat of Lismore. Yeah, that's right. We've got a lot going on, and there's also letter writing tables at markets and things. So things that you have identified are all very good. And yeah, a lot of those things can be done from a distance.
Great, thanks very much, Scott. Anyone else? Is there anyone taking their first step, their first action, their first activity that they've done, or are we all seasoned practitioners here?
Hey Jai, it's Sean down far south coast, New South Wales. Nearly 40 years of campaigning for the forest down here. What we're concentrating on is letterboxing and getting the message out with the NCC ones, but more so we've got a group of people concerned about climate, and we've printed up some flyers for that to just vote for the environment.
Great, thanks very much, Sean. That's a great point to make that connection. I think it's something that people in we can really use as a way of connecting with people, particularly in the inner city seats where climate's a big issue, and helping people recognise that connection. I think is great. So, anyone else want to share actions or activities you've got coming up? People were talking about the sticks. If you'd like to tell us about that. Sorry, yeah, go, Catherine.
Oh, sorry, Carol.
Oh, sorry, go for it, Catherine. Yep.
All the actions that we're doing, I'm actually around the green, so I didn't want to say anything. But Mark, you're speaking at the Thrive Festival. We've got a few festivals that are happening around our area in Ballingen, because I'm with the Kalang group, and We've got the plant fair where we, which is run by the Ballingen Environment Centre. So that will be focusing on forests. And also we've got an environment festival in Ballingen on the 11th, and we'll also be focusing on forests with that as well. So
Excellent.
those are both the biggest things that happen in our area at the moment. So I'm with the Klang River Forest Alliance and the Ballingen Environment Centre. So we're working together on all those things.
Great, thanks very much, Catherine. If you don't mind dropping some links in the chat there for your groups or any of those events, that'd be great. Yeah. Anyone else from another part of the state or part of the country?
Hi, Jai. Carol from
Carol.
Gloucester. How are you going?
Great, thanks.
I'm part of the Gloucester Knitting Nanas. We are pushing Save the Forest at our weekly knittings in Gloucester. All the Nana Loops are planning to write to the candidates in all our electorates. And one of the things that we will be highlighting is to save the forests and save the koalas.
Great. Thanks very much,
Yeah.
Carol. The power of the nanas are mobilising. It's great to hear. Anyone else? Do we have any younger folks on the call who'd like to offer an insight into what we're up to? Nope. Okie doke. Well, I think we're heading towards the end of it here, so we'll wrap up there and just let people know that there's a whole lot of things there on the chat, links and resources and excellent conversation, and the session's been recorded. So we'll follow up on an email after this meeting tomorrow or the next day, giving you access to those resources and really encouraging you to take the steps that you can. It's a bit of a push. As Susie said, it won't all finish on election day, but it's a great moment. It's an opportunity for us to really make this count. So thanks everyone for coming along, and all the best with your action and your commitments over the coming month and a bit. And yeah, we'll leave it there.
To say, I think.